Sent from Disneyland, history in our hand. So much to say about yesterday and the decades we have spanned. Postcards from the park, this journey will embark. See what has changed and what remains on Sent from Disneyland. Sent from Disneyland.
Welcome to the Sent from Disneyland podcast.
Here age relives fond memories of the past.
If it's your first time joining us, welcome. On this podcast, we'll take a journey into the past and explore Disneyland, Disneyland history, and more, with mementos, snapshots, souvenirs, and postcards sent from Disneyland, from 1955 to the present. Let's start by thanking my patrons from patreon.com. You can join in at any level to support the show and receive snail mail from my trips to Disneyland and from my desk, plus some sneak peeks and bonus content. Special thanks to Random Olive, the first patron to this podcast, and to the rest of the e-ticket patrons, Tania, Eric Daniels, Monica Seitz Vega, Bill Dreffel, Scott Cagle, Russ Romano, Michael and Christina Cross, and Sheila Harry. C-ticket patrons Serious Inquiries Only, Debbie Weinstein, Jennifer Schneep, Angela Reynolds, Grace Coate, Patty Wolin, and Ben and Noel Bruning. B-ticket patron Joshua Bell, and to the A-ticket patrons Elise Sharp, Zealot Infinity, Alexis Robles, Angel DeBlock, and the Beyond the Railroad podcast. I am your host, your post-host Clocky, and today we have 2 postcards sent from Disneyland. The front of our first postcard has the African Veldt section of the Jungle Cruise. You can see stripy horses, long-necked cheetahs, and I'm not sure what's on the right, but it looks new. On the left, there's a pride of lions protecting a sleeping zebra. On the back it reads, African Veldt, gazelles, gnu, zebras, lions, and giraffes tell the story and point up the law of the jungle, survival of the fittest, in this expansive grassland region along the banks of the rivers of the world in Disneyland's Adventureland. It's postmarked January 11th, 1965, with an Anaheim cancel and a 4-cent Lincoln postage stamp, Scott number 1036. I assume they visited the park on Sunday, January 10th, 1965, when park hours were from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. The weather was a high of 73 and a low of 39. Park attendance that day was 15,086. It's addressed to Miss Helen Blyce of Lewiston, Maine. It reads, Dear Helen, I'm visiting Lucy. Today is beautiful. It's a very nice day. Wish you were too. Love and kisses, and Adrian. Recently I purchased a book from 253 Trash, who finds great vintage and retro items and rehomes them through Instagram. She showed me a book I thought I had, but there was a special inscription in the back of the book that made the book unique. After receiving the book, I realized I did not have this particular edition in my collection, and was amazed that the 2 books I thought were identical were actually 2 different editions themselves. The book is simply called Walt Disney's Disneyland, and was written by Martin A. Sklar, better known as Marty Sklar. While flipping through the pages, there are many differences as the 3 editions include copyright dates of 1965, 1969, and 1969. Although the 2 have matching copyright dates, there are images and changes that place one with a printing date around or after 1972. The books are filled with photos, along with history, descriptions, and stories about the park and its attractions. One of the stories that appears in all 3 books is from Ray Bradbury. The story was originally published as a letter to the nation, a monthly magazine established in 1865, and is still published today. He's quoted describing his first visit as saying, I did better than take a child. I accompanied one of the greatest theatrical and creative minds of our time, Charles Laughton. I've never had such a day full of zest and high good humor. Mr. Laughton is no easy mark. He has a gimlet eye and a searching mind. Yet he saw, and I found, in Disneyland, vast reserves of imagination before untapped in our country. Looking through photos of Charles Laughton, there's a famous photo of him with his wife, Elsa Lanchester, in front of the Main Street Cinema. Charles had been nominated for Best Actor in a Leading Role for the Academy Awards 3 times, winning only once in 1933 for The Private Life of Henry VIII. He was well known for playing Quasimodo in the 1939 Hunchback of Notre Dame, Captain Bligh in the 1935 Mutiny on the Bounty, and roles in Witness for the Prosecution and Spartacus. He directed The Night of the Hunter, and his wife, Elsa, was in a few Disney films including Mary Poppins, where she played Katie Nana, That Darn Cat, and Blackbeard's Ghost.
Add some flair to your mail by checking out stamps at Enfield Post. You can explore different stamp options on our Etsy site, grab some great deals by following EP Sunday Sales on Instagram, or create something special and have her design a stamp array for your invitation or celebration. You can head over to enfieldpost.com and explore all the different vintage postage stamps you can use on your next card or letter. That's ENFIELDPOST on Instagram and enfieldpost.com for your wedding and vintage postage needs. Enfield Post is the official postage stamp sponsor of the Sent from Disneyland podcast.
The front of our next postcard has the Nautilus submarine coming out from under the waterfall in the submarine lagoon. On the back it reads, Submarine Falls, mysterious depths of the legendary Seven Seas have been brought to reality for passengers aboard one of Disneyland's air-conditioned submarines. Guests enjoy looking through portholes to view an underwater panorama of sunken treasure, mermaids, a sea serpent, and beautiful flora and fauna of the underseas world. It's postmarked July 30th, 1965, with an Anaheim cancel and a 4-cent Lincoln postage stamp, Scott number 1036. I assume they visited the park on Thursday, July 29th, 1965, when park hours were from 9 a.m. to midnight. The weather was a high of 84 and a low of 64. Park attendance that day was 35,244. It's addressed to George Elizabeth and Gail Saunders of Richmond, California. It reads, Hi, we have toured only part of Disneyland in a little more than 13 hours. We spent from 8:45 a.m. until 10 p.m. looking, eating, and walking all over Disneyland. See you soon, Alva and Jack. When I get a new book like this, filled with photos of the park, I immediately start looking for photos that I have not seen before, used in Disneyland books, maps, postcards, or promotional materials. Flipping through the pages from the back to the front, the first image on the third and fourth to the last page stopped my search. This photo of It's a Small World looked different from the others I've seen. The images of the Scandinavian section of the attraction. Elements of this section look similar, but something looked off. Since this book was published in 1965, the image used was from the World's Fair version of the attraction. Many of the animatronics were repositioned when it was reconstructed in Disneyland. Also, much of the set painting had some changes in color and design alterations. The main reason I wanted this book was because of the inscription in the back of the book. It reads, 1965, Dearest Lenny, we'll never forget our trip to Disneyland last time all of you came home to Long Beach. Getting to see all the big ships, the seals at the pier, and the big fish Don caught. Hope you all come again soon. My love always, Great Gram Lola. With this book and your map, can see where we were. All of you come see me soon. Always love to have you.
My incoming postcard is sponsored by the Art Throwdown. Art Throwdown, or ATD, is a craft hour on Instagram, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern or 6 Pacific. Art Throwdown is a wonderful community of artists who love to share their craft, from creating sticker postcards and coloring techniques to intricate paper cutting and unique crafting. It's always a treat to watch a show and occasionally get some one-of-a-kind postcards from the group. Each host brings something a little different to each show. I'll list some of the regular hosts, or you can follow Russ Romano 2021 on Instagram.
The front of my incoming postcard has artwork by Ann Shin, which includes a stylized version of Fantasyland with a teacup in front of Toad Hall and the entrance of Peter Pan, the entrances of Snow White and Pinocchio with the carousel in the middle, and Casey Jr. going up and down hills. In the back, Monstro, Sleeping Beauty Castle on the Matterhorn with Tinkerbell flying through fireworks. It's postmarked March 17, 2025, with a Santa Ana cancel and a Puppy with Heart, Love, Forever postage stamp, Scott number 5746. It reads, I hope you love this postcard signed by the artist. Thank you so much for the postcard, Kayla. I do love when the Wonderground artists are available to sign postcards of their artwork. I have a few from going to special events, and love getting to meet the creatives behind the fun and imaginative Disney art. I don't think I have anything by this artist, but hopefully we'll see more of her work in the future.
Thanks for listening to Sent from Disneyland. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and tell your friends. It would also help to leave a 5-star rating and comment on whatever podcast platform you use. If you'd like to support the show financially, please check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/sentfromdisneyland. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at sentfromdisneyland or my website, sentfromdisneyland.com. For questions and comments, send me a postcard addressed to Sent from Disneyland, P.O. Box 44, Hood, California, 95639. This podcast is not affiliated with Disney, the United States Postal Service, or any post office or Disney-related properties. Opinions expressed on this podcast belong to the host and guests of the Sent from Disneyland podcast. This podcast is produced and edited by Clocky McDowell, website designed by Misty McDowell, theme song was written and performed by Noah Sunday Lefkowitz. Take it away, Noah.